What's up, everybody? Chelsea Denofa here. We are going to be doing another Dissecting Drifting today. This is going to be round 8, which is Formula D Irwindale. I'm going to school you guys on how the track works and then hopefully do some kind of car setup type deal where I'll show you guys when the car's too gripped up or things like that and how it's affecting the driver and kind of what the driver's doing to fix those kind of things. Also, we'll go through, this is just going to be qualifying this time instead of tandem, so you guys can understand how that works. And we'll see how my scores match up to the judges that you guys think don't do a good job. So for this one, we're just going to be doing the qualifying runs. Sorry for this resolution, it's the best clip I could find, and it actually does show all the zones really, really well. They want you to drive down the straightaway as fast as possible in this green zone, which is the acceleration zone. You're only allowed to slow your car down in the decel zones, which is here and here. So basically, you're going to drive into this first turn as fast as you can and use your clutch kick, handbrake, feint, however you want to. The judges leave that open as long as it looks fluid and smooth. So if you use the handbrake, you better do it quickly and snap to angle. Or if you use clutch kick, you'll get that little extra bit of forward speed out of the turn, into the turn. So that's definitely the direction that I usually go, is clutch kick. And then they want you to fill this outer zone from here to here. And they want you to fill it all the way on the wall. Basically, you get a 1 foot buffer. So if you're 1 foot off the wall all the way around, it's pretty much full points. But I'm always one to kind of tap the wall here on the exit so the judges know that I'm doing the hardest run that I physically can. So after you come out of that outer zone, it's still green. You're going to transition, and they have an open transitioning point where they let you transition, and there's no points change. But they want you to snap to angle through inner clip 1, and then use a lot of angle to slow yourself down before outer zone 2. During this area right here is one of those decel zones, so you are able to actually slow down here and use the handbrake or the foot brake, but ideally they want you to slow down all with angle. And if you guys have seen Irwindale before, and you'll see here in a minute, this wall right here is sketchy. You're literally tossing it into, they have a K-rail on a line like this. So you're tossing your car even in angle with the K-rail into this zone. So to get the first part of this zone is really, really ballsy. And then you're going to fill this zone all the way around, which has a really good arc. Once you get on this bank here, as long as you're about a foot off, you can hang there really, really easily. And then you're going to pull off the zone immediately, drive to this inside clip on throttle, and then the finish line is actually an outer zone finish line, and it's just one cone at the outside. They want you to finish at the very edge of the track. This is really, really hard to do. It makes it difficult because getting off of this zone and getting into the inner and back out was a really uncommon line. It makes it difficult, but what we're going to do is watch the top 5 qualifiers, and then we're going to go back and watch the later qualifiers to give you guys an idea of what not to do. Alright, so the first run's going to be Justin Pollock in his Mustang does a wheel spin all the way up to the first turn. If you notice, he's spinning the tires all the way up. He flicks in, he's rather low here, but he drives up the zone with a clutch kick. And he's about 3 feet off the wall on initiation, but this is good angle. He's backs his car up onto the wall a little bit there more. I think he either used the left foot brake or just a quick handbrake. And this is really, really good. If you see like the tire marks, and he's right on it. And he's getting a lot of angle to be drifting that entire bank. And he stays on the wall pretty good. And if you see this yellow line right here, this is the line where you can start pulling off the wall. You've already noticed he starts pulling off the wall a little bit. He has a little bit of a weak transition here. It's kind of a slow snap, but it's not too bad. To low angle. He's about a foot off the clip right there. And then he transitions into the inner zone with the outer zone, zone number 2. With a lot of angle, but he's off on that outer zone a little bit. And then he drives out to it and puts his bumper on the wall right there and drags it. So he does get out to that outer zone, but it's a little bit late, and then he does make contact with it. And I believe that this is a bonus for the judges. The judges sometimes don't feel, the judges say that they don't want to see someone rip the back of their car off, but I feel like who wouldn't want to see that? So I'm always trying to put my bumper on the wall for those extra couple points. He has a little waver and then falls off the bank a little bit, but fills the zone well. And then for inner clip 2, he's right on the money for that. And then drives right out to that outer zone there. So he's on that last line, so this would be pretty much full points. They have 3 lines here just for reference so that they can see how close you were to the wall visually. It kind of helps them out to take their focus off of exactly where the car's at so they can watch the car as well and just see those lines in their peripherals, which I definitely like that. Cool, so that was a really good run from Justin. Could have been wider on the outer zone in the beginning, number 1, and could have been wider for the entire outer zone, number 2, and could have had a harder flick on that front cone in front of the judges. Next run's going to be Chris Forsberg. He's not spinning tires up to there, and he does a handbrake initiation, it looks like. It's very, very slight. It actually still could have been a clutch kick. Let's watch one more time.
Most wins, back-to-back championships, 3 championships. That's where we're at with these 3
Okay, so that was a clutch kick. So he does a no wheel spin. Clutch kick entry, gets a lot of angle and then has to back it down. Has a little bit of a wobble there. He is about 3 feet off the wall, so this would be not full points for the entire bank. About 5 feet off through that zone. And then again, this is not an inner, it's just there. So at the end, he pulled off a little early still. Snappier transition right on that inner clip. And drives right out to the outer zone. He's about 2 feet off the wall in the beginning of the zone, which is this yellow line. And he drives all the way out, gives it a tap. He's further out than JTP, fills the zone, gets right on this inner clip. That was, I mean, literally sliced the inner clip, so close. And drives out almost to that outer zone. He was about the second cone. So overall impact of that run, I do believe, was probably higher than Justin's. But I can't say it was still like a perfect run. In my eyes, that run was probably an 88 or 89. And it looks like the judges were a little bit rough on him. He's got an 85. The run before that was Pollock's with an 84. So you can see they both had mistakes that... Let me rephrase that. They both didn't have mistakes, but they both had parts of the run that weren't perfect. So now we have Farris Wang, who's the qualifying king. Let's see if he's got his car loosened up and ready to get rowdy. He drives in with some wheel spin, but he's, there you go, with a big flick. Drives up to the outer zone, and a lot of left foot brake. You can literally see the brake light on right here. And he's off the wall by about 3 or 4 feet at this point. He's got good angle, but he's not on the wall all the way. To be fair, this is his backup car, so it's not as good as his S15. This car only has about 650 horsepower, which is still enough to compete in Formula D at this track, but it's underpowered for him. So he drives up and gets all the way out to the outer zone with a lot of angle. Lots of angle. Big flick across the front, right on the clip. But he gets it up to the wall about 4 feet off, right at the start. And then drives it out further with a lot of angle and some left foot braking. Lots of left foot brake, lots of angle. On the inner clip perfect, and all the way to that outer zone completely there. So that was a better run as far as line and angle, but a lot of left foot brake, which doesn't necessarily show his commitment. So I would judge this run about the same as JTP's. But maybe like a point higher, so somewhere around where Forsberg's points were. Strictly because he did a lot of driving aids to make it there. You know, he used a lot of left foot brake, but then again, he had lots of angle and was driving through the clips just as close as Chris. So his angle was better, his line was slightly better, but he wasn't as committed using that brake a lot. So it looks like, I don't know where Wang is, not even on here. Maybe it's just because, alright, well either way. So this seems like they don't have the scores perfectly in order, or they're doing it top 5. So it seems like Wang probably is going to qualify 3rd. I don't know his score yet because it's not posted on there. But we're going to watch Ryan Tuerck's run. Last run he got an 88. Oh, wait. So this is kind of out of order, so these scores aren't necessarily in the same order as we're watching it. But this is Ryan Tuerck's qualifying run. No wheel spin up to the straight to get as much speed as possible. Weak clutch kick in, but right on the wall. So he has the closest wall ride so far. And he's staying up there. A little bit of left foot brake, but he's deep all the way around the bank. He's using some left foot brake, but not enough to really slow the car down or lock the wheels up. I prefer not to see a lot of left foot brake on the bank, but during qualifying to get that high score to ride the bank, it's definitely something that you might need to do. Transitions, good angle through the clip, throws a good amount of angle into the inner zone. He was off on the entry of the inner zone, but now he's right on it. Little bump on the wall, all the way around, touching the wall, fantastic. Right on the inner clip, and right on the outer clip. So that was a really, really good run. It had good speed, good fluidity, lots of angle, a little wall bump there, and then staying on the wall other than like Chris and Pollock, how they hit the wall and then drove back off of it. This was a really, really good run. In my eyes, this was about an 88 or an 89.
All of the course, wall to wall. Well, I'm sure he's comfortable in the chassis.
All right, and then the number 1 qualifier is Dai Yoshihara. We're going to watch this run.
By the other driver that had rented it earlier this season.
Yeah.
So depends how well he repaired it.
So lots of wheel spin, throws it in. He's about 3 feet off the wall on initiation. Here's the start of the zone right here. He drives up a little bit, but he's still off the wall quite a bit. If you notice, there's enough room to see that. So he's probably about 4 feet off. But then he goes out to the outer zone and touches it right at the very end, which is in the judge's eyes, which is really good. Lots of angle across the front clip, right on it. His front bumper was in front of that last line, so that would be full points. Transitions out to the wall, a little bit of a late transition, but gets out to there immediately. He's about 1.5 feet off at this point. Drives out to the zone, right on the wall, all the way around, about 1 foot off, which would be full points. Inner clip, right on it, and drives out to that outer zone and throws some angle in. An interesting thing that he does here is, as soon as he passes that inner clip right here, he throws a ton of angle in. And then, whoop, right there to get to that outer zone all the way around. So that was definitely a really good run. So you'll see him go through here at good angle, drive into that inner clip, and then pour on more at the very end. So that was a really good run. That seems that it was the number 1 qualifying run. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that there were some better runs out there. I think if Farris would have used a little bit less left foot brake, he would have won the number 1 qualifying spot. This was a committed run, not a lot of left foot brake, good angle, good line. It was all there, but it was probably still only like an 89 or 90. There's still some more points available on the table there. But he hit all the points that the judges wanted. He was a couple feet off on everything. It was a little bit of a safer run, but it was still very, very good. So while Justin Pollock was actually on the wall, as well as Chris Forsberg and Ryan Tuerck, it seems that Dai's run was smoother and had better fluidity, so he probably picked up the extra points there. So it's not all about necessarily just going out there and being a wild child and throwing mad angle everywhere. You saw Farris run, which qualified in 3rd, which was one of those pretty wild runs. But it wasn't exactly as smooth. It wasn't exactly as fast. Its fluidity wasn't exactly as high as some of these other drivers, especially Dai's. So it looks like Dai qualified in the number 1 spot strictly because of his fluidity and how smooth he was able to get around the track. They want to see that you don't break up the track into sections. So we'll go ahead and watch Dai's one more time. Clutch kick in, Smooth, no angle differentials. Backs it up onto the wall right at the outer zone. Good angle through the clip, right on the zone. Flicks into the wall with very little braking. Drives out to the wall and stays 1 foot from the wall all the way around. Hits the inner clip and just pours on more angle for the last little bit. So it was definitely a pretty good run. I can't say I could have done much better myself. Number 1 qualifier. I didn't even qualify here because I didn't pass the finish line. I had to borrow Odi's car to be able to drive the event because I lost a motor. So it's definitely an interesting event overall. And Dai didn't actually end up winning the event, so qualifying doesn't necessarily mean anything in the long run anyway. Matt Field ended up winning it, and he qualified mid-pack. So, all right, so next up we have Matt Field. He had a special wrap for this event because the Gears of War was being released. He actually won Texas. He was going into this event with a win behind him. His car is fantastic, 1,000 horsepower plus supercharged and nitrous V8, Falcon tire in the back. Car is hooked up and set up. Matt and I worked a lot together on different things with car setup, so he's definitely one of the people to watch out for to have a fast car on maybe not the most budget. So he's doing no wheel spin on entry, it looks like. A little clutch kick in, rotates the car to a good amount of angle right after the zone. And he's on the bank, but he's getting some wobble, okay? He's trying to stay up on the bank. He's not probably as close as he'd like, but he is actually pretty close. But you can see him steering to get it up instead of using the left foot brake. On this left sweeper, when you steer right, it will allow you to pull up towards the bank because you're reducing angle and steering the car up. But you have to be careful because you don't want to make the car wobble like it did in the beginning. Finishes on the bank. Look at this angle. This is an almost equal with this. Like, you're talking 70 degrees of angle coming off the bank. It's a really, really good run. He's about 2.5 feet off the bank, off the wall there, so that's good. Lots of angle, hangs it out longer. See, this is a really good run at this point because not only does he have a lot of angle, he's holding it for a long time. Let's see how he does across his transition. Okay, so there is the downside for this run. He's only getting that last line of points, so this is the least amount of points on that clip. But he had lots of angle, which is sick. Lots of commitment going into this inner bank. Look at that, full throttle right into the outer zone. Gets into the outer zone, wheel off the ground, lots of angle. A little bit of wobble, a little bit of left foot brake, but he's right on the wall, so his line score is going to be good. He bounces off a little bit before the end. He's off on that inner clip again by about 3 marks. And then he gets out to that outer zone. So he was off on both inner clips, but he had good fluidity and good style. For a run like this, I would probably put him at about an 84 or 85 because he missed 3 or 4 points on the inner clips. And he probably missed a few on the fluidity just because he had some bobbles and left foot brakes. So let's see where we're at. So 83. So that's pretty close to where I was. I was saying his line was pretty good, a 30 out of 35. He had good angle, whether it was sustained or not. He had a good amount of angle around the whole track, especially right here and across the front clip. So while he didn't get the points for being on this clip, he got the angle points there for sure. And then he manned it into this inside bank here, all the way on the round, like just full commitment going through there. So that's why one of the judges gave him a high commitment score, probably just solely off of that. Here's the Kristaps Bluss in the HGK car. It's an E46. It's on Achilles tires. This is a very, very fast car. Chassis quick, tires quick, and he's got a massed 800 horsepower NA motor in there. So he uses a handbrake to get up on the bank. Very, very low angle and some wobbles. Also, he's driving away from the bank. This is probably because his car is too gripped up, and he has to get the tires wicked up to be able to drive back out. Finishes the bank pretty strong. Not really a ton of angle. He's actually understeering a little bit here, but that's not too big of a deal. Transitions, low angle off the transition and way off the clip. But gets into this outer zone pretty early. Ooh, with big wobbles though. He's doing a lot of steering input. And this is kind of what the WiseFab stuff does. When you move your wheel at all when you're driving, it wobbles the car around. So while you have a lot of front grip going on, it's not necessarily working as far as the geometry in the car between the front and back. The front has too much steering grip. throws on some angle at the end, gets that inner clip, and then almost drives straight. So this run was textbook car has too much grip for the amount of power it's putting down and for the track. It's qualifying. You don't need to have all the grip in the world. So that was definitely textbook, not enough grip. I would give this run a 67, just because he missed it kind of everywhere. He wobbled. It wasn't very fluid. He didn't really fill many zones. And it's a 64, so again, a little bit lower than what I would say, but I'm only one judge. I'm actually surprised they gave him that much style points. It seems a little bit high, but his line and angle was poor as well. So it's Matt Kaufman, wheel spin entry. Looks like he's going to do a flick. He does. By the zone, he's already out. He's about 5 feet, 6, 7 feet off the wall. And then he starts, he's about 7 feet off the clip all the way around, so not necessarily high enough up to get full points. Good angle, though, comes through the front clip. He's on that front line, so that would be full points. Transitions into the outer zone really, really well. He's got great angle, and he's all the way on the wall immediately. And then all the way on the wall, all the way around, about a foot off. That's a really, really good inner wall ride. Gets right on that inner clip there and drives out. He's a little off on this zone here. But his fluidity and his commitment was really good in the second half of the track, not necessarily the first half. But his angle was smooth. There was a couple spots that had too much steering input. But, you know, ideally that was a pretty good run. I would put this run at about an 80 or an 81 if I were just the only judge. Let's see, an 82. So, yeah, the style judge gave him 778, so he had good fluidity. He had good angle, but his line was off because they deducted points on the bank, if you noticed. But the rest of his run was really good. Like, he got full points on the outer zone, full points here on the inner clip and the other inner clip. He was just off on that outer zone there and outer zone in the first turn. So that was a really good run from Matt Kaufman. All right, next up is going to be Alec Hohnadell. He's a fantastic driver, drives a lot of angle. He's on Nexen tires with a 850 horsepower LS supercharged motor, and he's got his wing off because it's probably creating too much downforce on the bank, so he had to loosen the car up on the bank, and then it wouldn't have enough grip on the infield, so taking the wing off helps with that. He does a handbrake entry. He's about 3 or 4 feet off the bank. He's already on the left foot brake, and the left foot brake will allow him to drive up onto the bank higher. Throwing good amounts of angle, but off on that outer zone there. Flicks through the infield, lots of angle here. Off on that clip a little bit, but lots of on-throttle commitment into this outer zone here, right onto the wall. And then drives off the wall, maybe just a little bit too much grip in the car to stay out on the wall all the way to the outer zone. Comes across the front clip, super, super close. That's about as close as you can get. Drives to the outer zone, and then, oh, that's tricky. So, if you notice, he almost doesn't make it across the finish line. He's actually facing the wrong way there. So that may or may not be a 0. If you see, this is the outer zone, and he's already driving this direction. So we'll have to see exactly what the judges think of that run. Other than that, I would put that run at about a 76, 75, just because of this outer zone here and him being wavery here and then not driving through this clip with as much angle as he had here. So he flicked to a lot of angle and then had to remove some to get to here. And then he did the same thing here where he drove with less angle and then had to pour the angle on. So to me, it's like a high 70s run if they don't 0 him.
He wasn't mechanical issue or one more time.
It looks like they're reviewing the video again. Oof, it looks like that's a 0 to me. Let's see what they say. Oh, it looks like he has a mechanical issue as well. Oh, and it looks like they 0 him. That's a pretty big bummer. I know he was having differential problems at this event. Alright, so now we have Mike Whiddett, Mad Mike, in his MX-5. It's a 4-rotor twin-turbo car. Again, this car was on Nitto's last year. No wheel spin, big flick, lots of angle, but has to remove some angle. Oh, and almost straight. Oh, it looks like he straightens in this time. He's having a really hard time. So I don't know if they'll zero this. I think that that was a double entry and should be zeroed, but they may give him points because he didn't actually drive straight. But let's see. So now he's in line, gets where he needs to be, off on the inner clip there, but goes right out to the outer zone here, wobbling with angle. Looks like his car's a little down on power maybe, or just too much grip. On the inner clip there, and almost completely on the outer clip at the end. Let's see. Yep, they did actually end up giving him a 0, and they gave him the 0 because of right here on initiation. He throws it in to a ton of angle, and he can't pull out of it. So it's really important. See, look at that, how much angle. Just huge flick. And what's going to happen is his car is going to want to drive down, and he's going to steer right to get up to the wall a little bit and try to get himself higher up. When he does that, the car wants to grip up and almost crashes him into the wall. It has a wobble, so that's why he ended up getting a 0. Alright, so now we have Fredric Aasbo. This is the TC that's been converted to rear-wheel drive. They do have an all-wheel drive chassis in other states, or I'm sorry. Alright, so this is Fredric Aasbo. He's in a Scion TC that's been converted to rear-wheel drive. They have this in all-wheel drive in other countries, so they allowed this to compete in Formula D. It does have some custom parts in the rear that a lot of drivers think is illegal, but it's been passed and grandfathered in. The car doesn't really, per se, have a massive advantage over anything, so it's not like it's unfair. But I think this is the last year where we're going to see him, so this is the last qualifying run he would have had in this car. I think he's in another car this year. Nexen tires, which are a good tire. Suspension set up really, really well. Steph Papadakis over there knows what he's doing with that stuff. Has a 4-cylinder motor that's about 850, 900 horsepower, so it's pretty wild. So here we go. So he throws it in with a clutch kick entry that's a feint, passes that outer zone entry, and he is up on the wall pretty good. Good angle, pretty consistent. This is a really good wall ride, so there'd be a lot of points there. Lots of angle. This car hides angle really well, which is a bummer for him, but if you look at that front wheel, he's always had a pretty good amount of angle. Good angle across this clip, but he's way off the clip. He's not even touching that outer line, so that's going to be a big deduction there. Flicks it in. This is really good here, off throttle, but if he gets on it soon enough, oh, he does not, and has a huge bobble. So now he's driving out of the zone. He's way off on this zone here. He's trying to work himself back out there, but he just really misses it completely. So that's going to be a big deduction there. Off on this inner clip as well. And then he finishes really strong. That was lots of angle. That's about 70 degrees of angle right on that outer zone. It's a really good run. Or finish, sorry, not a really good run in general. But I'd put this at about a 75 or 77 just because that huge mistake on the inner bank right here, he's way off, and this is a lot of points. He was way off on the inner clip here. So while he had the wall ride really, really strong, the rest of the run just wasn't really there. So I would be around 74, 75, 76. So let's see. I would imagine he would have the most points in angle. Yeah, so the angle judge and the line judge both gave him like decent scores, not great. Also get a 76, so it was a little bit higher on the higher end of what I said, but you know, right where I needed to be. Style wasn't there. I probably would have gave him less on the line because I feel like he was way off, but they gave him a lot of points for the bank. I feel like that should be like something in the mid-20s, and the angle should be about the same, or maybe even slightly higher, because he did have good angle everywhere. It just wasn't very consistent. And then the style is 7s and a 6. You know, it just wasn't very stylish. He got most of these points, of these 76 points, was this being perfect, and then the rest of the run kind of fell apart. Cool. Now we're on to Vaughn Gittin Jr. in his 2016 Mustang. It's a Nitto driver, big sponsored by Monster, arguably one of the most successful Formula D drivers. His car is built by a team of guys that know exactly what they're doing, so it's pretty interesting to see this car work. Oop, I don't know what I'm doing here. Alright, so does a handbrake entry. His car is real obvious on the handbrake entry because his car will dive down and then he drives up to the outer zone. He doesn't quite have as much angle as I'd like to see, but now he's starting to pour it on. He's about 3 or 4 feet off the wall here. A little wobbly there, but you know, starting to get dialed into his angle here, about 3 or 4 feet off there. Good angle here. Decent angle across the front clip, hits that inner line. Full commitment into the inner zone, a little bit of handbrake there. But this is a really good setup. He's only about a foot off the wall. Here's the start of the zone. He's already been in the gas. A little wobble, but pretty smooth. All the way on the wall, all the way around, very, very close. Good angle through that inner clip, and great finish through there. So for this run, I think that he didn't quite have it together here. So this is going to be a fairly large deduction. It wasn't fluid, but it wasn't locked into as much angle. It also wasn't right on the wall. This is also his first run, so maybe he wasn't as committed, and he was just trying to get a good on the board score. But yeah, so basically he came through here, and he transitioned. This clip was pretty good, not a ton of angle, but a good safe run. Flicks into the outer zone here, gets out to the zone pretty early, gets on the gas, gets a lot of points here. This was smooth, not a lot of left foot brake, a lot of throttle commitment. It was a really good run through there. And then he finished off the run, one of the best I've seen so far, on the inner clip. Lots of smoke, good angle, all the way to the outer zone there. So I would put this run at about a 79 or an 80, strictly just because there's big deductions here, and then it wasn't really a ton of angle or a lot of pizzazz throughout the rest of the run. While he finished strong and he had good line through here, I just feel that his angle score won't be as high, as well as the fluidity and the style will not be as high. Cool, so it looks like it's about an 80. So like I said, his line was pretty good, but his angle wasn't quite as good as others, and he did get low scores from the judges on the style. And I do think it's just because it may have been his first run, and he wanted to get a good score on the board strategically, which is smart. But I just picked this run out to kind of show you guys that was a great run, but it wasn't all it needed to have a high score. So the difference between 80 and a 90 is going to all be in your danger, your excitement, and how ridiculous you can get on track, which is one of the best parts of Formula D. So now on to a different style of driving, which is also appreciated in Formula D by the judges, Odi Bakchis. So now on to a different style of driving in Formula D. It's Odi Bakchis. So now on to a different style of driving. This is Odi Bakchis in his Genesis. He has a rally background, so you'll see like a lot of left foot braking through him. You'll also see different transitioning points, and he's very steady at angle, but maybe doesn't have quite as much as a lot of the other drivers. But again, if you're very steady at that angle versus someone who has a lot of angle that's wobbly, the points could even out or even be better on Odi's side. So here we go. He's going to throw it in, no wheel spin, quick handbrake entry, drives up onto the bank. See what I was saying? He doesn't have a ton of angle, but he's been very, very smooth with it, and he's about a foot off the wall. Very, very close. A little bit of left foot brake, pours on some angle at the end to get some style. I like that. Good angle through here. Transition smooth, but maybe not a ton of angle. Drives up to that inner clip, but he's already starting to transition out of angle, as you can see. So he doesn't have as much angle across the clip as he did back earlier. But he has a committed handbrake, a little bobble on the steering, but a little bit more bobble on the steering. He's out on the wall great where he needs to be. He did some left foot braking there, but he had a big bobble right here. But he's locked in now with that, again, not a ton of angle, but very, very smooth now on the wall. That was one of the best wall rides I've seen, but it just wasn't at a lot of angle. on that inner clip pretty closely, onto that outer zone there. So this score right here, I would be around an 86 or an 87. It would be a lot better if he didn't have this big bobble right here, and he also was able to keep his angle through this inner clip here. But around this bank, he was pretty good, had a little correction here, but a lot of drivers were. I think he did very, very well here. Just missed the angle here, even though he was on line, so he'll get line points there, but not angle points. And then through the zone here, the bobble here really messed the score up, which sucks because from here on it was beautiful. And then he got both those inner and outer pretty close there. So I'm about an 86 on this run.
Heading in from the style judge.
79. See, I feel that was pretty low. I feel that, yes, he didn't have a lot of angle. And yes, he didn't have a lot of fluidity. But I do feel like this is about 5 or 6 points low. Strictly because, obviously he didn't have a lot of angle, but he was smooth at angle for 90% of the run. He only missed it at 10%. So it just depends on how they were docking points. So they may have taken 2 points off here, 4 points off here, and then maybe because he didn't have a lot of angle across this clip, like I was saying earlier, so his line was high but angle was low. I think it just kind of ruined him in the score strictly because at each important area he may not have been where he needed to be, but even though the rest of the run was very, very good, he lost a ton of points because at the highlights of the run he maybe wasn't doing exactly what they wanted to do. So while I do think that score was a little low for Odi, just kind of wrapping my head around it, I do come back and say that, like, if they're judging these points heavily, then that is why he got that score instead of like an 85 or 86. All right, so now we have Dean Kearney in the Viper. He's on Achilles, super, super grippy tire. That tire has a lot of forward bite, not necessarily a lot of side, but the Viper has good side bite in the chassis. So this is a pretty balanced car and is super, super fast. One of the fastest cars in Formula D. He throws it in with a handbrake. He's smooth on the angle, but not quite all the way out, about 3 feet off, but this is only like a 1-point deduction. Flicks lots of angle, leaving the turn. Goes to the inner clip. He's off the inner clip he's on the 3rd mark, so those will be some points deducted there. Drives into the inner zone, a little bit timid, about 3 feet off the outer zone. Gets out to the outer zone, and then comes back in again. That forward grip's really fighting him here. You see him dragging the brakes, and then left foot braking the whole entire inside bank, and he's still not wide enough. Hits that inner clip perfect and hits that zone decent there. I would put this run at about a 79. Because he had some wavering, it wasn't quite as close on the fluidity ends of things. Let's see where we're at here. Oh, a 70. So they actually gave him low angle score and low line score. All right, so we have Alec Heilbrunn here, 1,000+ horsepower E46, really sticky Nitto tires, and then a good chassis overall. This is one of the best chassis in Formula D, the fastest chassis. Not a lot of wheel spin, but very high speed. Initiates in, gets on the bank, rides it really well. Smooth steering inputs, about 2 feet off the wall the entire time. Good angle across the front clip, a little bit off on the zone. Notice he's using the handbrake here to get out to that outer zone. He latches on and rides the entire wall, a little bit of a wall tap there. Good controlled angle on that inner clip, and a little off the last zone. Overall, that was a pretty good run. I would probably put that run at about an 81 or an 82. It was really smooth, very smooth initiations to drift, not a lot of steering input. Good angle across the front clip, lots of commitment into the inner zone, little handbrakes there, which is fine, a little wall tap there. Overall, really, really good run. Close on that inner, lifts a tire, misses the last zone, but still pretty good points. I would be around an 81 if it was only one judge. And he got an 80, so, I mean, you can kind of see how this works. Like, the line was pretty good, 30 out of 35. He had more angle than most at a 31 out of 35. And then he had a consistent style across the board. with 6s and 7s. I probably would have given him 7s across the board, which would have brought him up to an 82. Just because I do feel like he had some style, it just wasn't wild, and that's what they want to see. They want to see dangerous things. Yep, so that pretty much shows the dissecting drifting for today. I hope you guys learned a lot with the qualifying and figuring out. It seems like I was pretty close on a lot of the judging calls. Only one I thought was a little bit different, but again, like, it's easily explainable. You know, a 5-point difference is huge in Formula D, but when you have 3 judges like giving you 100 points, 5 points isn't necessarily a huge thing to them. It could be a point on each of the judges and then a couple on the style end. So it's tough. It's really, really close. It's tough to be, you know, one of the judges in there. But again, like, me being one judge and being pretty close, I think they're doing a really good job. If you guys want me to dissect any of your guys' runs, I'd like to do that next. So if you can email me a couple of your runs to classofthrash@gmail.com. That's CLASSOFTHRASH@gmail.com. I'll put that link in the bottom. And the next episode, I will kind of go over your guys' driving and hopefully not tear it apart too bad. Thanks for watching. Make sure you tell your homies to get up on here and educate themselves on drifting. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. Later.